So the next keynote topic that we have is API lifecycle automation using Test Ops platform. We have Vijesh from Quality Kiosk with us. He has around 18 years of industry experience in strategy planning, marketing, business and product development, key account management, and pre-sales roles. He is a very varied skills, exemplary thought leadership person. He has made multiple hats and made many noteworthy contributions to the growth of Quality Kiosk. Vijesh, we are very happy to have you with us. Over to you. Can you try sharing your screen and can we have you on board?
Yeah, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Not yet. Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. So thank you, Deepti, for the wonderful introductions. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to various people who have joined from different areas. I'm very excited to get this opportunity to present in the API Testing Summit organized. Very quickly, Deepti has already introduced me. I'm based out of Singapore, looking after the entire Asian countries for our organization Quality Kiosk. The topic for today that I would be throwing and sharing my experience is all about API lifecycle automation. And when we talk about lifecycle automation, I'm talking from a perspective of creation of an API. It starts from a specification document to it getting designed, developed, test, and then finally continuously monitored in production. And what we have been successfully delivering this API lifecycle automation is using our TestOps platform. So that's in the brief, the agenda for today that I would be presenting. Let me first begin with a little bit of insights into what we have been seeing our customers letting us know. So as an organization, Quality Kiosk, we are engaged across 250 plus customers spread geographically across 25 plus countries. So as somebody change the screening view, are you able to see my presentation?
No, we are not able to. Can you please reshare your screen, Vijesh?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, now we are able to see. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. So when we are being working with all our 250 plus customers spread across 25 plus countries, one of the major strategic initiatives we are being observing is digital transformation. And to achieve these goals of digital transformation, the core underlining strategic initiative is API driven strategy. Fundamentally, what we have observed across our customer base that in the current model or the operations, you have to focus on technology, data, analytics, and cloud. And in this entire transformation from an API perspective, there are four critical elements that customers are struggling with. One, they're looking at streamlining the way they engage with customers, and hence, how can you do omni-channel experience, digital lending, customer onboarding enabled journeys is where we are seeing. Second, how can you help can you help us to launch our APIs faster and at the same time reduce the cost? The third area that we are seeing a lot of transformation happening is digital experience. Especially this is accelerated by the COVID pandemic, where digital happiness or digital success is becoming a very critical dimension when it comes to API. This has led our customers to look at developing new revenue streams to streamline their go-to-market strategies. And also API is the underlying philosophy driving innovations. So in the today's presentation that I would be sharing a little bit more insights is going to be on APIs in financial services. So one of the major critical verticals we have observed that API has fundamentally changed in the way the end users are interacting with financial services like banks, insurance, and so forth. One we have seen earlier, it was a closed model where the customer used to interact by using channels like web, mobile, IVR, or branch visits on the bank, to the open banking model where now digital access and digital ease of connection is becoming predominantly more critical. And what has changed for the banks is they no longer need to only support their existing channels, but they have to focus more on aggregators like Amazon, Flipkart, and various other social channels that has come in. So that has further created complications when it comes into the API architecture. What we have observed broadly that across our base, there are different kinds of APIs which requires different kinds of strategy, different kinds of tools, different kinds of methodologies to automate. One interesting area that we are being seeing focusing is the internal APIs. The internal APIs is the medium through which your current end users or end employees are connecting through mobile web, but has to interact with your enterprise applications. Second, we have been seeing banks launch open web APIs to increase their market reach, increase their customer base. But the third area that we are seeing fundamentally a major interaction happening is business to business APIs, where the banks now have to interact with business partners, their distribution partners and suppliers. And these partners define what should be your quality metrics, what should be your experience KPIs, what should be your functional KPIs, and so forth. And to do this, there are fundamentally four areas that we are seeing our customers face a lot of challenge. One is on the business side. What should be an external API? What should get demarcated as an internal API? Second, how do I have the right kind of people or the kind of partners we have? What kind of skill set is required in this API economy? The third area is the process. DevSecOps, Agile, it's been there for multiple years, but now looking at the business objective of going faster to the market in this API microservices architecture, how should I leverage the DevSecOps and Agile philosophies? And in the financial services segment, the another critical area that we are seeing is the regulators. So for India, we have RBI. For Indonesia, we have OJK. Similarly, when we are operating at Singapore, we have MAS. There are also regulatory pressures on our end customers like banks, insurance to adhere to certain basic fundamentals related to security testing, optimization, and speed. So that's what we are being seeing on the API in the financial services. Just a brief experience, this Testos platform that we are going to present. What we have also seen across our customer base, to name a few, different customers or different banks are adopting different. Some have invested into microservices, where you have platforms like MuleSoft, Google APG, and Swagger. But a large chunk of customers are also building their own in-house platforms or in-house API gateways or in-house API platforms, which is based on REST API and SOAP API. And there's a third layer of our customers who are tying up on service-oriented architecture. So when we are looking at API lifecycle automation, one of the areas that we as an organization is focusing on, how can you address on various architectures automation? So moving ahead, what is the kind of KPIs that we are looking from a lifecycle automation? So what we have observed that our customers are struggling with certain important metrics. So one, how can I reduce my cost to run an API? Second is the quality. When we are looking at this current age of digital transformation, customers expect a lot. So is there a mechanism or is there a methodology or is there a platform tool or a process that can fundamentally help us to reduce the incidents per API, can improve the code quality? Can you ensure that I have to launch every week at least 4 to 5 APIs? Can you help us to automate the entire test coverage? Or also what we are observing, there's a lot of APIs that the customers already have, but nobody's observing, are they being used and how are they being monetized? So these are fundamentally the KPIs or the metrics that customers has been asking us. Do you have an answer for automation this? So this is where we have developed our own platform, QRace. And if you, just for a simplicity sake, the Q basically stands for business quality. The R stands for robotics. The A is for AI-driven analytics. The C is stands for cloud, and the E stands for experience. And fundamentally, using our TestOps platform, we have been able to commit certain SLAs to our customers. One, we have been able to achieve a 95% of the entire lifecycle automated. Second, we are able to promise a zero showstopper defect. Third, from a business perspective, very critical, we have been able to accelerate the launches into the market. Last but not the least, on the entire thing is the velocity or the on how the squads can do more work because of the automation. But fundamentally, we have to also be cognizant about the offside, where fundamentally where we have been able to commit metrics is we have been able to help our customers reduce their drop-offs up to 20% and fundamentally also keep the CFO happy by reducing the total cost of ownership. So the next question that is going to be, how are we doing this? What's QRace? What's this Testers platform? That I'll go into a little bit of more in depth. So the first area that we are trying our customers to answer is how do I ensure my APIs deliver business value? So we are having a management pressure that we have to launch a lot of APIs to see that we are able to continuously go to the market faster. So is there some kind of a framework? Is there some kind of a mechanism in which you can help us understand what we should move first? So this is basically for the financial services and the banking. We have created a 2x2 grid. Broadly, the APIs are classified into financial and non-financial APIs. The second critical matrix is incoming APIs and outgoing APIs. So why this is critical is when you're looking at from a perspective of incoming APIs, then the quality, the performance becomes more important. When you look at from an outgoing API, the security aspects changes quite a lot, confidentiality and so forth. So broadly, what we have observed that any APIs which has got a financial impact and is incoming, they should be prioritized first. And typically, these are APIs related to card transactions, finance alerts, e-banking, mutual funds, life insurance, general insurance, and so forth. The second bucket we have seen is financial APIs, but are outgoing, where retail banking, account openings, locker management, and so forth. The third area that we believe should be prioritized is incoming APIs, but non-financials like name, date of birth, validations. You have multi-credit bureau and so forth. Last but not the least, the last objective that the customer should pick up is outgoing APIs, but are non-financials. So in each of these buckets, the objective is also very different. For the incoming financial, it's about seamless, secure, and traceability. While for the outgoing financials, the major focus is seamless and secure. Because in an outgoing API, from a client perspective, they are onboarding on Amazon or many such similar ecosystem partners. You will not be able to trace what happens internally to it. So that's the first area that we are trying to address. The second question that typically our customers ask us, where do I start? So we have set up digital API factory. And in this digital API factory, what we are trying to bring is best practices, process, and efficiency, right from creation of an API to getting it designed, developed, and implemented. And finally, we're helping it to be launched into the production faster. And to do this entire process of discovery to go live, we have certain best practices, best methods, and technologies defined. So fundamentally, when we are engaging, we have set up a center of practice on API lifecycle automation, and we help the clients understand what are the objectives across business stakeholders, across development vendors, across their infrastructure partners, across their business stakeholders. Then what should be the automation factory? What kind of governance would be required in an API lifecycle? What should be your infra and architecture optimization? Very critical. And last but not the least, that we are being also helping our customers in upskilling and transforming what kind of people and talent management would be required when we have to drive this API lifecycle automation. So that's one area that we focus. The second thing that the digital API factory automates is the various phases of the entire API lifecycle. Starts from the planning and strategy, moves into having the right practices for the design, moving into the development. Because you think from this perspective, you will have your own in-house development teams and you will have multiple partners. Can you standardize what kind of methodologies and what kind of practices they should follow? Moving on to the testing, then comes the deployment, then comes the security. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on security. Very importantly, SAST and DAST, how it can be integrated earlier in the life cycle of API. So we have been hearing about shift left and shift right. On the shift left, how are you able to use the power of technology and processes to see? That becomes a compelling reason. But last but not the least, the APIs needs to also be monitored in production, because when you're looking at creating a product backlog, how your end user is actually using the API, what kind of challenges they are facing, what kind of functional metrics and non-functional metrics, it should go as a feedback back into the planning and the strategy. So that's the entire cycle that we have automated in our QRS accelerator. So the next question that customers ask us, what should be my key technology, tools, and processes do we need when you want to do this entire API lifecycle automation? So here, I would just be broadly sharing some of the critical things. So fundamentally, our platform is an IP-led SDLC agnostic. We engage with our customers, look at their tool stack, look at what have they already invested in their development, in their testing and their monitoring aspects, and integrate it together into a framework. Some of the interesting features that I want to highlight today for the entire audience is one, API catalog. What this feature is typically helping us do is, uh, even before the development starts, we are able to do something called as API specification or contract testing. So fundamentally, we have created an automation solution that reads the entire API specs document and starts creating the entire QA assets, which is the test cases, the test data, as well as the automation scripts. And the APIs can change. Some could be on JSON, some can be on Postman, and so forth. So on this API catalog, it's helping us see the entire visualization end to end. So how did the API do in the development? What was the code analysis? How did the API perform in the integration environment from a QA perspective? How did it do from a user's perspective? Because as an end user, if I'm trying to do a fund transfer, all these APIs integrate together. So which we also refer in our language something called as call chain testing. So there, the APIs also needs to integrate with your enterprise or COTS application. So how's the quality there? And finally, if you see here, we are closely also picking up metrics from the production and trying to create a complete visibility end to end. Security and performance is also on a single view for our entire customer base to see how is my API doing overall. The second challenge that we have observed, functional testing, performance testing, security, UI, UX. This requires different testers, but more importantly, this requires different automation scripts, and maintenance and continuous upgradation of the scripts is a major trouble that we have been seeing. So what we have patented as an organization, we have created an automation script that can run both functional and performance together. Now, what this is helping our customers are for that we are using simple technologies like JMeter or Postman, and the same automation scripts validates the functional verification points as well as from the performance perspective. Now, you imagine for large enterprise customer that we are working with, the headache and the time constraint that is required to maintain humongous amounts of automation scripts has reduced quite drastically. So that's where we are leveraging the power of technology by having one Windows automation script. The third area that we are being focusing is this only specific to API? What happens to my COTS applications? Do I need to change the automation technologies? Do I need to change my entire framework? So no, it's a singular platform that used across, and you may have various applications. It can be legacy like AS400, mainframe, and monolithic, or you may have your different applications which are cloud native and more digital, or you have invested in certain of your own in-house API gateways and so forth. So this platform has got inbuilt service virtualization. It's basically an orchestration layer that allows you to check from all aspects of API, UI, analytics, performance, experience, and security. And if you see below, this Testos platform that we have created, it's completely tool agnostic. Depending upon the familiarity, depending upon the skill set of your testers or your partners, we can pick and choose, and the platform is ready to use. Moving on quickly, the last area that I want to just focus quickly is on the observability piece, where we are also measuring what was the validation of the APIs before the go live in the pre-production, and then when the API got launched, what actually happened in production. So there we are capturing KPIs, various KPIs from technical errors, which is nothing but issues that the end customers have faced, which is related to code, or it could be a business error, it could be a performance metrics of response time, and we are comparing, and this goes as an input into my platform to define what should be the next coverage or the next regression cycle that should run to address these needs. So that's very interesting that we have observed. Last but not the least, customers has been asking us, uh, you know, people come and people go, but is it possible that your platform can embed best practices from an agility perspective? So fundamentally, when we are looking at the entire life cycle of digital delivery, what the platform does, it already starts at the requirement stage to create a traceability matrix. It already starts creating the API specification testing. As the developers are designing, the contract testing and the test data automation is created. And once the API gets developed, we are allowing our customers to do 100% testing in the sprint by using service virtualization. And very importantly, we are able to capture the performance metrics upfront. And then we move into the testing phase where the APIs are getting integrated together to deliver the end customer value. So we have call chain testing, cross browser, and DAST to see from the security. And once the APIs are deployed in production, very interestingly, we are doing a shift right testing by using concepts like A by B, closed user group, and chaos engineering. And finally, all the feedbacks of how the users are interacting by using feedbacks on social sites, the call centers. We are collecting all this information and putting it as a continuous feedback to the entire requirements design and development. So it's a continuous loop that we are following using our TestOps platform. Uh, just to give a brief insight, what are the various models that you require when you're looking at from a TestOps? It has to be cloud ready. In today's world, it's impossible if you are not having a cloud ready platform. It's fundamentally an orchestration layer. It's SDLC agnostic, because in our enterprise customers like banks and insurance, you will continue to have waterfall, you will continue to have rapid application development, and the new edge technologies or the new edge platforms would be on agile. So one of the fundamental concerns and one of the fundamental requests that we have been getting from our customers, is there a mechanism or a way of creating an SDLC agnostic? It has to have AI ML use cases inbuilt. And when I say it is on the regression side, auto healing, test data virtualization, self healing, looking at the velocity at which changes are requested from a competitive landscape, from a business perspective. Can the scripts self-fill by themselves? Can they look at the change that has happened on the various aspects of the code and improve the coverage from that perspective? One script and so forth. On the services side, we have different modules. Not every API or every application will require the end-to-end. So it should allow you to test from an in-sprint perspective, from a production verification, from an early performance, and it should be easily integratable with the current tool stack and frameworks that our customers are having on the DevOps pipeline or the smart insights or the business view. So we have 150 plus ready to use integrations already available on our platform. So moving ahead, the next question that we have observed our customers inquiring is, what should my API governance look like in such a complicated architecture and environment? So fundamentally, there are 7 key pillars that we design when we engage. One is we help on setting up the business value workshops or streams, helping to design what APIs and how should you engage with your various partners on seeing that visibility and automation be a mindset. The project management side, the project governance, technology. When you're looking at going into whether you should go for a MuleSoft or you should go for a Google APG, or should I create my own in-house API gateways, or when you're investing into a lot of digital transformation, other platforms, what kind of an architecture should I go for? What should be your source code management standards? What kind of branching strategies? So all these areas, you need to have your best practices, templates, and artifacts created. And that's something that we bring as a part of our QRes portfolio, the entire API governance layer. Moving ahead, the last area is where is the talent to do all this is going on. It's been something that we have been working for the last 9 months, and the way we have handled this is we have launched our own university, which is Quality Kiosk University, and we have created different courses, different skills. And one of the fundamental questions that we have been receiving internal to us, also external from end customers, what kind of skills are you going to require when you're talking about API lifecycle automation? So broadly, there are 6 distinctive skills that we are going to observe. One is we see, sorry, hello, is somebody saying something?
No, Vijesh, I think you can carry on.
Okay, thank you. So where we are seeing in the market that from a talent perspective, sooner or later, specialized resources would be required. One would be a product quality analyst, and especially when you're looking at omni channels, digital lending, customer onboarding, and so forth, you will need specialists to understand the end-to-end journey right from the requirements to the production. A cloud reliability engineer, which is another very growing aspect. Interestingly, it will be shocking to for many people to observe, but the UI UX testers and their ability to create automation is also going to be very critical. That's what we're seeing. We also see a role called as a QA scientist growing on. And in this API lifecycle automation, if you cannot use the power of machine learning and AI, it's going to be very difficult to achieve your business goals. A very recent, in the last 3 months, we have been observing is the site reliability engineers. So SRE engineers is becoming more and more predominant, and that's the skill set that we are trying to build as a university. And last but not the least is a full stack tester. We have heard about full stack developers and SDAT, but very interestingly, where we see the market moving to is a full stack tester. And in this tester, he should be able to do all the three: functional, performance, and customer experience testing. So on the digital talent side, the way we have addressed this, we have set up this Quality Kiosk University, which is open for our internal employees as well as for our large customers. Right now, we have around 250 plus client projects where we are upskilling even their people. And as of the moment, we have churned out around 1400 plus skilled resources on all these various skill sets that we are seeing in the API lifecycle automation. So that's on the digital IT growth. So when you're looking at the entire API lifecycle automation, you will need to start from first deciding what APIs should get automated. You will need to set up an API factory. You will need to crack on the process and the tool side, set up the factory governance, and also create a people and a talent management skill set that helps you to optimize. The last slide that I want to present today is just one of the case studies that we have. This is a very large universal bank in India, and they won the banking license in 2015. And we have worked across multiple years on various aspects. Right now, we are helping them drive this goal of creating 1,000+ API factory, which is completely powered using the QRes TestOps platform from last year onwards. Yep, I just now opened the entire forum for questions.
Sure, thanks, Vijesh. We have a couple of questions which have come in.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to interact live? Would you want to unmute and talk? Can you please raise your hands if you would want to?
Hey, hi Vijesh, Prasad here.
Yeah,
Hi,
hi,
Prasad.
Prasad.
Hey, hi. What is the difference between contract test and unit test?
So in the contract testing, if you ask me, what happens is the unit testing, as you understand, is done by the developer themselves, right? In the contract testing, we are looking at majorly like a smoke test, Prasad, in a simplistic language. So that's what we are testing from a contract specification perspective.
Okay. Thank you.
Puneet also has a question, Vijesh. He's asking Agile and Waterfall same time, SDLC agnostic. This is a little confusing. Could you please explain more?
Okay. So what is happening is when I'm looking at a lifecycle automation, the way the developer methodology, you will have agile methodology, which is like iterative development, and you have then the waterfall development where everything gets developed and then you move into testing and then you move into go live. So the problem statement that we have from our customers is, do I need to change my automation approach? Do I need to change my automation framework? Do I need to change my automation methodology from a testing perspective, depending on the SDLC methodology? So that's what we have been trying to work for the last couple of years on getting this resolved. So it's agnostic. Automation is automation. The way the development methodology keeps on revolving, your automation script should be able to be reused across. I hope, Puneet, I could answer your question.
Sure, Puneet. Puneet, if you still have follow-up questions, you can post them. Thanks, Vijesh. There's another question. I think Prasad asked it. He's also asking, is it possible to call it hybrid?
What is possible to create hybrid? Sorry.
Hello. Hi, Vijesh. Puneet this side. So,
Yeah, Puneet.
during the development, whether we go with the agile or whether we go for the waterfall, so how are you going to club both the model in the same at the same time? So, do you have different teams or some different? I mean, that's the thing actually. Either we go for the agile, either we go for the waterfall. So that's why I'm a little bit confused.
Okay, so let me put it like this, Puneet. See, I'm looking at from an outside in view. So I have automation scripts. Now, if you're going to move in an agile, you will do in sprint development. So when you're doing in sprint development, the automation has to shift left. So what I'm trying to say here is that automation per se does not change. The applicability of automation in a waterfall driven methodology and an agile driven methodology, my platform is agnostic to it. So I can use the same automation for in sprint. I can use the same automation for the contract testing. I'm using it same for your integration. And then I'm also using this automation for your production testing. So that's the basic challenge I'm trying to resolve.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Rajesh.
Thank you, Puneet.
Sure, we have a couple of them raised hands, I guess. Nehal, you want to unmute and ask your question? Snehal, are you there? Would you want to ask? Meanwhile, Rigank has this question. What is quality scientist and what is the focus of the role?
Okay. So the quality scientist basically needs to focus on 3 areas. One, he should be an expert on data modeling, and second is the data science, and the third area is he should have a lot of focus on the machine learning. Now, this is technology side. How are you going to interpret it, collect this information or data from various sources? Now, what I mean by sources, production, you have infrared monitoring, you have call centers, and then you have your developer defects and production defects. How you look at this entire set of information and get your requirements, get your automation scripts, get your test coverage updated is what the QA scientist does.
Cool. There's another question. What tool you use for service virtualization testing?
Now that's the interesting thing. So if you carefully listen to the platform that we have created, it's actually tool agnostic. We are using JMeter, and we have created our own extensions to it to do the service virtualization. Because in service virtualization, you have technologies like SmartBear, but another challenge that we observe from an end customer perspective is the cost. So it's a combination of using your own in-house service virtualization extension that we have created combined with SmartBear.
Cool, thanks, Vijesh. Maybe the last question. What is the technology stack that are used for this solution?
Okay, so there are various technologies. I think in one of the slides I showed you. So depending upon the areas, so for the production side, we are using ELK. For the functional and the performance scripts, we are using JMeter and Postman. On the security side, we are using ZAP or 45. So depending upon what we're doing, it's a call chaining of various tools. What we have done is, from an end user perspective, it's just one platform framework. They don't need to worry about all this integration.
Okay, we have a very extensive question. You have mentioned about the full stack QA. So in full stack QA, you mean to say manual plus automation, or just manual only with front end plus API plus backend plus mobile and basics of automation? Or in
No.
full stack QA, is it compulsory to be expert in automation as well?
Okay. So let me again try to explain this. Full stack tester by default has to come from an automation background. That's one. However, he should have an aptitude to do functional, performance, security, UI, UX all together. So typically testers are designated as functional testers, performance testers, and security testers. Full stack QA cuts across all the three. While what you're asking on the technology, obviously he should know API, backend, mainframe, and so forth. That's why it's a very exciting space, and we believe in the entire software testing market. More and more, you will be left with only full stack QAs.
Sure. We have more questions, Vijesh. Probably you can answer them on chat also. I'll take one
Absolutely.
last question. What
Sure.
is cloud reliability engineering? Is orchestration rundeck a tool?
Okay, so orchestration rundeck is not the tool. When I mean by the word orchestration, what the TestOps platform does, it's an orchestrator. It executes all the QA from a requirement, from a dev, from an SIT, UAT, and a prod perspective. Cloud reliability engineer. So what has been a very big paradigm shift, especially accelerated by COVID. Earlier, it was all about zero functional defect in production. Now it is more about performance and customer experience. So as the word reliability means, how reliable is my API? So if today I have 50 end users using my API, tomorrow I have 200 users using it, will they get the same consistent functional and performance experience? So that's reliability. And because most of the customers are moving to open architecture, and you will see open banking, open insurance, even the telecom and the automotive, is going to be on cloud. So reliability on cloud is cloud reliability engineering.
I think we have a lot of other questions, Vijesh. If you can spare a couple of minutes to answer them on chat, we'll be really grateful. Durga and Abdul, you have raised your hands. Probably you wanted to ask your questions, but because of the time limit, probably we'll have to move on. Please feel free to connect with Vijesh on LinkedIn, or please put your questions on chat. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to help you with answers. Thank you so much, Vijesh. It was really a pleasure to hear you out. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Dipti.
Yes, audience, please help us know the feedback for Vijesh. We have posted this link on the chat channel also. Also, thank you so much, Vijesh, for joining us. It was a very extensive and very informative talk. And thank you for taking us through all your slide decks. It was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you, Dipti, so much. And please feel free to reach out with any queries on LinkedIn or any of our websites, and I'll be more than happy to answer the questions. Thank you, everyone.
Sure. Sure. Thanks, Vijesh, for being accommodative.